Kamala Harris has officially secured the Democratic Party's presidential nomination, the first black and Asian American woman ever at the top of a major party ticket. Delegates to the Democratic National Convention officially selecting her as their nominee for president, the party not waiting for the convention in Chicago later this month. The entire process unfolding online with nearly 4,700 delegates submitting electronic ballots. Vice President Harris was the only candidate eligible to receive votes. No other Democratic candidate qualified by Tuesday's deadline. Harris became the presumptive nominee after President Biden made the historic decision to withdraw from the race against Donald Trump, vaulting her to the top of the ticket and re-energizing the party. Vice President Harris marking the moment with a virtual announcement just a short time ago. Let's listen.
You know, I know we all feel this way so strongly. We love our country. We believe in the promise of America. And that's what this campaign is about. So, of course, I will officially accept your nomination next week once the virtual voting period is closed. But already I'm happy to know that we have enough delegates to secure the nomination. And later this month, we will gather in Chicago, united as one party, where we're going to have an opportunity to celebrate this historic moment together.
For more, let's bring in our chief White House correspondent, Mary Bruce, joining us now. And Mary, Kamala Harris really locked up this nomination at lightning speed, making history along the way.
And the history, Whit, is worth noting. This is now the first time that a black woman, a person of South Asian descent, will be at the top of the ticket. Only the second woman to ever achieve that. And as you said, this has happened at absolute lightning speed. It was just 12 days ago, 12 days, Whit, that she first became a candidate. Now, less than 2 weeks later, she has now crossed that threshold, earning enough delegates to become the Democratic Party's nominee. We have never in our nation's history seen something like this. And now we are going to be on this remarkable 95-day sprint to the finish. It is going to be a well-funded sprint. Her campaign this morning announcing just in the last 2 weeks they have raised $310 million, a record haul. You heard Kamala Harris there. She says she is ready to fight. She is ready to win. And the next big thing, Whit, of course, is that she now is making that most consequential decision of who will be joining her on this ticket.
And Mary, let's talk about that. It's really crunch time in this so-called Veep stakes. What is the latest in her efforts to select a potential running mate?
Well, we've learned that this process, the Veep stakes, has now entered the final stages. What comes next is now in Kamala Harris's hands. We have learned that the vetting process that was being done by a law firm led by the former Attorney General Eric Holder, that they have wrapped up their work and essentially passed the process over to Kamala Harris herself. We do know that that team vetted at least 3 leading contenders, Senator Mark Kelly of Arizona, Governors Josh Shapiro of Pennsylvania, Governor Tim Walz of Minnesota. And it is also notable that Kamala Harris doesn't have a lot on her schedule in the next coming days. It is likely that she will be having some in-person or direct person-to-person conversations. We do know that some of the contenders have also cleared their schedules as well, possibly to make time for some of those conversations. What we do know is that we are going to have an answer to this question by Tuesday evening. That is when Kamala Harris will be hitting the road, her first big rally, the ticket together in Pennsylvania, Whit.
That decision just days away. Mary Bruce for us. Thank you. Let's bring in ABC senior congressional correspondent Rachel Scott, who's been following the Trump campaign. And Rachel, you interviewed the former president earlier this week, and it's been a scramble for Trump and his team to try to figure out how to go after Harris.
Exactly, Whit. Look, former President Donald Trump and his senior advisors really wanted to run against President Joe Biden, especially given all those questions about his age and his mental fitness. And so now the tables have sort of turned. They have a new candidate in this race that they're running against, and she's gaining some clear momentum there in the polls, really narrowing, closing that gap among very key demographic groups. And so now we're seeing the former president. At first, he shifted his focus and talking about the administration's handling of immigration and the border, and really focusing in on Harris's role addressing the root causes of migration. But here at the National Association of Black Journalists Convention, I had an opportunity to press former President Donald Trump on some of these attacks from Republicans on Harris's race and identity. And we saw the former president question Vice President Kamala Harris's race and identity, going after her, even raising the possibility that she might be a DEI hire, short for diversity, equity, and inclusion. The former president there making that very clear. The Harris campaign really laying off of responding to that, saying that Donald Trump is showing exactly who he is. One thing is that very certain here, Whit, though, Vice President Kamala Harris is a black and Indian descent. She graduated from a historically black college and also is a member of historically black sorority, Whit.
All right. right, Rachel Scott for us, thank you. Let's bring in our ABC News Washington Bureau Chief and Political Director, Rick Klein. So, Rick, give us the state of the race right now. We know that the polls have shifted a little bit here, but still an uphill battle for both candidates.
Yeah, with the race has entirely reset, but that doesn't mean it's not close. And in fact, if you look at some of the most recent national polls, you're seeing Trump +2, Trump +3. The most recent national poll we saw is that +1 out of Reuters Ipsos, Harris narrowly ahead. The 538 polling average reflects a similar story. Trump was leading consistently, but now Harris is on top, up by a little more than a percentage point. Still a very, very close race. And in the battleground states, we just got these numbers in from our partners at 538. Look at where Joe Biden was on the left. That's where things stood when he exited the race. You see Trump leading in all 7 big battlegrounds. Now Harris up in 3 of them and the margin closer in all of them. Right now she is numerically at least ahead in the 3 biggest battlegrounds in the upper Midwest, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. If she wins those 3, she wins the presidency.
And Rick, just to emphasize this, Kamala Harris won this nomination without a single primary vote. We haven't seen anything like this in half a century.
It is astounding and it is not preordained. There was an opportunity here for Democrats to challenge her when Biden exited the race. In fact, a lot of top Democrats and donors were advocating for that. They wanted an open convention, or at least an open process leading up to the convention. But in the hours after Biden stepped aside a week ago Sunday, you saw the Harris machine whir into action and lock the nomination down in record time and record speed. Technically, she never got a single primary vote. People voted for Joe Biden, not for Kamala Harris. Those delegates were Joe Biden delegates, and now well more than a majority supporting Harris, putting her on track to become the nominee.
Unprecedented and historic. Rick Klein, thank you. And our coverage continues on ABC News Live and abcnews.com. I'll be right back here with the entire team for World News Tonight. For now, we'll send you back to regular programming. I'm Whit Johnson in New York. Have a great day.
This has been a special report from ABC News.
For cats.
There's the delicious taste of tuna we treasure.
Definitely coming back tomorrow.